So enough of me. I'd like to introduce our guest, Bryan. So why don't you tell them a little bit of what's your backstory? What were you doing before real estate? How did you get into real estate? How long with KW? Who are you?
Yeah, so my name is Bryan and I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for asking me, Sharon. This is awesome. And I was actually just sitting. What was your name again? Charlene. So Charlene was with me on Pivot Shift Ahead. Was it last week? So two seats away from me. So I'd like to welcome Charlene. And what was your name? RJ. RJ. Yeah, welcome you guys. I mean, so I was sitting just where you're sitting. Was it 3.5 years ago? So you know.
It's not long. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Wise one.
Yeah, and there's a lot of wonderful people here. I just closed a transaction with Jacqueline. Julia went to high school with my sister.
I've known him since he was like 13.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Deborah.
His sister's still a great friend.
Yeah, Deborah's been a big help to me. There's a lot of wonderful, talented agents in here that have helped me. You know, and KW has been a godsend for a person like me. It's kind of like a perfect match. You know, it's really a blessing to be here and to have the lives that we've had and the opportunity that we get and the gifts that we're given, you know, just coming and having a community such as this. It's really awesome. Oh, but I didn't answer any of your question, did I? So I had a video production company that I ran and very moderately successful. I mean, we did a lot of fun things. I filmed Stanley Cups. I went to different countries. I got to be hanging out with some of my heroes, and it was real fun and everything, but it was, what do you call, I was very physically demanding, and I'm very competitive, and I used to get very envious of other people's images that I couldn't get, and, you know, we weren't really collaborating at all. So I read a book in 2017, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I realized, man, I don't really know anything about finance. You know, I'm like spending money that I don't have on things I don't need to impress people I don't even like. You know, it's like, what the heck am I doing? And so I realized that, you know, I wanted to retire and, you know, have a good life and maybe live a little bit easier. And so I got Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and I thought, well, I'll start investing in real estate. And I thought, well, I read Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller, and I thought, well, that's what I'll do. I'll become a real estate agent, and then I'll learn how to invest. And so that's what I did.
Okay. Well, so how did you find Keller Williams?
Well, I read
from the book.
Yeah. So I knew exactly when I read that book that I was going to become an agent for Keller Williams.
All right, and so you went through our new agent training program.
Yeah, I went through Ignite. Yeah. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to, from the tools and the resources of the classes that we have, how did you get into a regular routine of lead gen? What has worked for you? That routine, are you still using it now?
Yeah. So, you know, it's been drilled into me since day one that, you know, I needed to spend basically 3 hours a day in lead generation, you know, and that if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist, and that if you erase, you must replace. And I don't know if it's because I had a Jewish American princess as a mother, you know, this crazy guilt trip that I just always feel guilty. Like if I'm not doing what I should be doing, you know, and so if I'm not, I'm feeling guilty.
So your sister too.
You know, so, yeah, you know. I just, you know, so even when I'm lead generating, I'm not getting the contacts I should be getting, which I don't often get, I still feel guilty, you know. And so if I leave work early, I feel guilty, you know. It's like, so I just work, I just put my head down and, you know, and just, you know. I mean, listen, there's people, so that book, by the way, I'm teaching a class, the 24 topics of the MREA. It is July 6th. It's at Palm Harbor Market Center, which is where I work out from, although I live very close to this house. Anyway.
Opportunity.
Yeah, so it's a great class. So the 24 topics of the MREA, and this is the things that, you know, again, going back to your question, is that if we, you know, when you ask me to speak, it's like, you know, I'm not really doing anything new or special. I'm just trying to adopt and utilize the teachings of that book in my life because it's already there. You know?
So there are some things that we talk about When we talk about 3 hours of lead gen, number one, what are you doing in those 3 hours? And we talk about working in our sweet spots, because we all have a different personality type, right? So some people are going to be great at cold calls, some people are going to be great at working your database, social media, networking. I built a whole 27-year career in real estate from networking and getting in front of people, because I was not great at the phone calls, which now I have different priorities, so I value the phone calls because it's quicker,
Yeah.
right? So what does your 3 hours of lead gen a day look like?
So, yeah, so that's changed significantly. So when I started my career coming from video production, I had a limiting belief that said, you don't want to call all your clients and allied resources from your video. I did a lot of weddings, there's a lot of wedding videos, and I just didn't, I'm like, hey, listen, I know I shot your wedding, but now I want you to think of me as this real estate agent. So I had this limiting belief. So I needed money, and I needed money today or yesterday, and I had a high aspiration to make a lot of money, and so I would pick the lowest hanging fruit, which is cancels and expires. So I would wake up, every morning at 8 a.m. I would be on the phone calling cancels and expires till 10. And
Okay, so low hanging fruit, because we know they have a need, right?
Well, they were, well, the idea that I had, and which was taught to me, is that, hey, they were on the market yesterday, and they're not on the market today. What happened? What changed? They still want to sell. And so I remember when I picked up my first expired listing, was on the market for 545 days, and I thought, there's no way, this is a 20 and a half, there's no way that it's going to sell. And I only lowered the price by like $2,000, and it sold in 5 days. I was shooting a job. The co-op agent called me, and I had it under contract that weekend. I was working my job.
So you solved their problem,
Yeah.
right? And you had to convince them on the phone that you could solve their problem and get that.
Yeah.
So for our agents who are utilizing RedX and the list for
Hopefully that's what it's called.
Vulcan,
Yeah.
okay, great recommendation. What do you recommend they do to learn the scripts? How long did it take for you to get into a groove of that? And our market is a little bit different now. There aren't as many withdrawals and expires and cancels.
Well, I guess my suggestion, like you had mentioned, there's so many different ways to lead generate. So I don't know what that looks like for anyone else, right? Like, but if you find whatever it is that you like to do, or ask around, or figure out what your personality type is, then that's what you should do. Because for me, what really rocketed my sort of career and changed my numbers and trajectory was getting a coach, a maps coach last June, and realizing that all the top agents, like Julia, and people that hear from me, their main source of business is their database. And I needed to figure out how do I, so hiring this coach was kind of the precursor to focusing more on the database. And so January 1st it was, I said, you know what, I'll start listening to the Pivot Shift Ahead. And I would listen to, I was calling my expires, I was dialing while I was on, anyway, and that didn't last long. I was like, all right, forget it, I'll stop calling the cancels and expires. And when I did that, all that negative energy, there's a lot of, I could tell you some recordings I have in my pocket, and there's a lot of people that didn't like when I called, and they're still very angry at me, I guess.
I think you should call all that.
Yeah, and I listen, that's motivation. Anyway, but it's a statistic, but it's interesting, and now that you don't have that negative energy, it's really different. Your days start off much differently. So yeah.
So you said you are calling your database.
Yeah.
How do you have your database organized? Do you use command?
Well, actually, I don't, but I do use a CRM that's very similar to Command. But yeah, and I do use Command for the get paid and everything. But I use the DTV too.
Okay,
Yeah.
what for the newer agents?
So
Tell
it's
them what that
like a KW Maps program, never-ending referrals, like Speed Fever or something. And it's do the database too. So you call 2 letters every week. So this week is Y and Z. So I kind of called back, other people that I had missed, because I don't have that many Y's and Z's.
So, to my question, you don't have that many Y's and Z's, your 3 hours of lead gen. So do you call until you get an appointment? Do you call until you're doing bold and I'm making 20 calls? What I'm trying to find out is you had a month where you made $100,000, right? You're in it.
$109,855.
Woo, you noticed So, is it dedication that you're calling until you get an appointment because you don't want to feel guilty? We know that you do. Are you doing the time? Are you doing the number of calls, or is it different every day?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Even in bold, I never hit 20. I mean, I rarely ever hit 20 contacts. And I was a bold leader one time, and I get everyone's forms, and everyone had 100 contacts. I'm like, really? Did you really have exactly 100 contacts and then you stop? Like, come on, So I'm like, all right, I have 100 contacts. But no, I mean, I have a hard time getting 100 contacts, right? It's just hard, right? But I think what I do is just work hard, and I just, I'm always looking for opportunity. For me, it's been a mindset shift, right? Like, you have to believe in yourself, in your ability, and that you are the best person for the job. My personality is not a good match for some people. I mean, let's be honest, that makes me work a little bit harder to try and make it work. And I'm very competitive, but there's some instances where I'm really probably not the best person for that. Hard for me to say it. When you have a little money in your pocket, it's a little bit easier to say it. Yeah, then you can start. When you start, getting some time and getting some, you can say, well, listen,
So, you're working your database. Are you motivated by number of units? Are you watching your volume? Do you know your average sale price?
Yes.
Let's talk about know your numbers for a minute. How is that beneficial?
It's very, 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 very beneficial. I mean, it's all that I'm obsessive about it. Like,
it's a whole chapter in the MREA.
Yeah, and so for me, what my coach helped me realize, and the part of that shift for me in my mindset and thinking was that he said, Bryan, look, your business isn't coming from Cancels and Inspired, it's coming from your CrossFit gym. That's where all my business is coming from. And if you look at all my business, it's called CrossFit Westchester, it's CFWC. So everything is all tagged CFWC. And so that's where all my business comes from. And so that was so in December, I had a member of my gym in the class before my class that I had only gone 5 a.m. I go to 6 a.m. 5 a.m. is way too early. Those people are nuts. And so I started going to 5 a.m. for a little bit so I could get in my call time a little earlier, or get a little more rest before my call time, 8 a.m. And then I started falling asleep while I was driving. So I realized, you know what, maybe not. Maybe I'll go to 6 a.m. But this one girl at that class called me up and asked me to come over. I didn't know it was even a listing appointment. I thought it was she wanted some information about a friend coming into town. Turns out it was a listing appointment. I got her home under contract. They told their neighbors. I got their home under contract against the buyer, so I had both sides on that. By the time it's done, currently right now, I've sold 8 houses in that neighborhood in less than 6 months.
So you farm the neighborhood now?
Yes.
You do just as you just sold?
Yes.
So it's important to know the source of your leads, which ones are easier to convert.
Yes.
So the CrossFit leads are from your database. I would call that from your database. You know your average sell price.
Mm-hmm. Which has climbed significantly.
You need to know the cost of your leads so you can decide where to spend your time if you only have 3 hours a day per week, right? So sometimes we can get in a little bit of a slump. Okay. Have you ever been in a slump? How did you get out of your slump? gonna say, no, I've never been in this one. But sometimes you can get a little funky, right? Or burnout.
Well, no, for sure, right? Like, not that long.
How do you say motivated?
Yeah.
You can tell by his arms.
Well, no, I mean, I'll be honest with you, the biggest, I mean, so Rich Dad, Poor Dad was like this huge impact on me. But the next book that really helped me is The Miracle Morning.
That was one of the first books that James told me to.
Yeah, so that, I mean, it's hard not to stay motivated when you're doing that every single morning, you know? And so I tell myself every single morning, I affirm reading the Rich Think and Grow Rich affirmations, today and every day is gonna be the best day of my life, And so, I get to the gym, I'm like, it's gonna be a, big day, and yesterday I deadlifted, more than I've ever deadlifted in my entire life, and I'm not getting any younger, So it was the best day.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of talk on the Pivot Shift all about stacking habits. So if you're reading The Miracle Morning, and then you have habits that you're stacking, is that helping you because you're in a regular routine? It's about discipline.
Yeah. That's what people say in my office. Yeah, they always come to me about this. I don't know. Like my TL, he says that I'm easily assassinatable.
Okay.
And I was like, well, that's not a strange thing to say to someone, But he says that every day, I'm like, noon, I'm right there in the kitchen. I'm very routine with my schedule.
So,
If somebody wanted to assassinate.
Yeah, someone
assassinates me.
Yeah, like they have nowhere to find me, they know where to kill me. Yeah, I'm like, it's not a very nice thing to say to someone.
He's in the kitchen again.
Yeah.
I
don't even know if that's a word.
easy to stop. So right now, it's a seller's market. Are you concentrating on getting listings, or are you talking to your database and just taking business as business comes? Do you have someone who handles your buyers? What's your process?
So I just, I've been wanting to grow the team, so I'm trying to hire an admin, and I've spent probably, 3-4 months now going through. Yesterday we did 30, 60, 90 with Paul Mercer, he was in the class, and Amber Rutherford was in the class. Amber was my first bold coach here in this room, and then she opened the title company, and now she's the OP of the Market Center. So it's like you see people like that, and that's where you get your inspiration from. It's like, wow.
What do you see on the wall?
Yeah.
Being bigger, right? All of the skills that you're learning can translate into those other businesses that you have.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
They're great life skills.
Yeah. She's
So-
remarkable, and you hear her story. Like she was making what, $26,000 a year as a teacher. And now she makes $26,000 when she sneezes. I mean, she's probably had interest yesterday, and just her money sitting in the bank.
Right. So the month that you made over $100,000, 109,875. You had how many closings that month?
7.
7 closings. Can you imagine coordinating 7 closings? A lot of you do.
I don't have an admin. I'm hiring. I'm going through the CV process. I'm trying to find the right person.
If you had the right person and you had your admin, how many do you think you could close it?
Oh, a
What
lot
is
more.
your time work?
Yeah, no, a lot more.
You have a TC.
Yes. I've had a TC since my very first transaction. I'm not good at that. That's my downfall. Yeah.
But we're the salespeople, right? So,
I have a VA. You follow me on Instagram, that's all of my VA.
so what's the secret sauce? I mean, you talked about the CrossFit people. What's the secret sauce for you? Because everybody's secret sauce is probably a little bit different. And in case I'm not asking the right questions, what is that secret sauce?
I mean, truth be told, what I love about KW and I love about, everything it just, what does it say in the, it says in the, what does it say on the cover of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent? It says, it's not about the money, it's about being the best you can do, and so that's what I feel like is that, money always follows the spiritual and, growth, right? Like, so, yeah, so if I grow as a person, that'll all just come. Like, it's not about the money. I mean, it kind of is, but it's really not, it's about just doing a good job.
Doing the right activities, being of service to your customers.
Yeah, the money just
I like
comes.
to think of it as karma, but you're doing the activity that services your customers, that brings the closings. What about referral business? Asking, how are you getting business from your clients, your closings?
What that? Well, no, I was just thinking, so going back to referrals, I just put this presentation, now I have this little QR code where people can scan it and send me a referral. So going back to referrals, so I'm learning that from family reunion and whatnot, and just how, in the shift, just how well connected other agents are, and are intentional about developing lead genning around, getting referrals from other agents.
So what about technology? What are your favorite apps? What has worked for you?
Oh, so a good thing that has worked for me in that neighborhood that I farm is a text capture system. So basically I put a sign in the yard and it's text TV home to this number, and so then I capture all their information. And so one of the sales that I got in there was a guy that texted that number, and then my CRM just kind of dripped, information. So I didn't even remember he was in my database, and then he called. He was ready to sell.
Okay, so what's
Really?
your
Brevity.
All right, so what other marketing do you do? There's a lot of talk about videos, right? Because videos work. Content, putting out real estate relevant content in many different ways. So the people that you're bringing in that are working with you, are they coming to you because you built your credibility in their mind in some way?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think a lot of people that I see, like at the gym or whatever, they all say you're killing it in real estate. Because they see that because I posted on Facebook, right? So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to that I don't recognize, is that how powerful your social media presence is, and I guess I don't use it as good as I could, right? Like I have a lot to learn and grow from that. And what you're saying about video too, I also am not utilizing enough. However, I just signed up with Viral Marketing, and that was from Jenny Wollett's near my business. She's an MREA out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. She's got a little class where so one of the things she does is this viral marketing, and so it's videos that you send to your database, and they do it all kind of for you in video scripts. So I'm recording my first video this Friday.
All right, that's great. So you're utilizing it.
Yeah.
So why don't we open it up to the agents? And can you guys ask some questions? What do you want to know from Bryan? We have him captured here. He had 7 minutes. What do we need to know?
How your regular day looks like.
What my regular day looks like?
Yes, like between your calls, your office time, your social media time, because I know social media takes time, too.
So yeah, so I get up at 4:45. I have my savers, my morning. It's a miracle morning. It's a shtick in the morning to get you plugged in, and then I go to the gym. I eat, and then I go to the gym with my wife, my lovely wife. She's amazing. And then I get home. I and then I go.
TMI.
Yeah.
TMI.
I go log on to the Pivot Shift call. I listen to that for 20 minutes, and then I go to the office. And sometimes I plug into that Jedi script practice. So that's another thing that came from Pivot Shift, is the Jedi script practice, and then the power hour. So I tune into usually the League Quarry power hour. So we are all zooming together doing our league enter from 9:15 to 11:15. And then lately we've been reading the MREI when we're done for 15 minutes. And then I usually have 30 minutes to do whatever, and then I have lunch. And then after that, it's generally open for appointments for market center activities or classes or learning. I keep my afternoons open for my listings, presentations, and things like that. My mornings are late.
That answer everything.
But it's pretty regimented.
Yeah, no, but my curiosity is about social media, because social media takes a lot of time. Do you choose one day to record videos or?
Oh, great question. So I had the VA, he does all that. I got this from Family Reunion. I've got this, if you've had a birthday and we're friends, he sends out a picture of you, branded with me, kind of sitting there in one of my pictures, it's kind of silly, but, and it says, the Bryan Coward team, and it lands on your page, and people see it, recognize and comment. I mean, it hasn't really, I don't know what it's doing, but it's something,
But you're gonna hire an admin,
Yeah.
and then you'll have some of the posts,
Well, no, he posts all my stuff. He's always posting. That's
so you've leveraged.
Yeah,
completely.
yeah. Well, I do my personal.
Where does it post? Only on Insta?
No, Insta, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. He does all. Then he also handles my CRM a bit too. He's a Brivity.
Anyone have a question, Bill?
Yeah. Bryan, with respect to your database and lead gen, I know now you've got a marketing effort going on, but before you had that in place, what were you doing as a matter of routine? Like, for example, when I'm working my database, I tend to socialize with essentially the same basic group. I try to be conscious of it, but I think that's probably true of most people. Are you utilizing email campaigns, or is it just social media, or how are you managing that in terms of a regular day-to-day type of thing?
So, well, the day-to-day, the emails are weekly or monthly, right? Is that what you're talking about? Like a data,
So you're doing that. You're doing
Yeah. Yeah, so I have MailChimp, and my DA does it. He does the newsletter. He does it all. On what I wanted to send, when I wanted to send it, he sends it. As far as calling the database, you asked me that?
Yeah, just in general, what your activities
When I
were
started.
before you kind of got the momentum. Yeah, when it was just you.
Well, yeah, I called cancels and expires. Yeah, that's all I called. I didn't call my database. I didn't, and I wish I had, but I didn't know how to kind of do that, right? I didn't have that mindset.
So you were talking about, they're mad at you for calling. I think that we think that we're fighting them, we're gonna make them mad. The thing about calling expireds for sell by owners is you really get broken down, because you can't be tied to the result of every call. You just keep calling and calling and calling, and you become used to it. And then they hang up on you, and then you've got to call them right back because you're not letting them get away with it.
Oh, you do that? Have you called them?
Expireds
Yeah.
and for sell by owners, when I first started, I did.
Yeah. And
Absolutely, I hated it.
when they hung up, you called back?
Why not?
Yeah. So do I, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going through a tunnel. Yeah, so I would hit one and the traffic's bad. Hang up all the time. So what can you say to our newer agents, anybody in here under 2 years, raise your hand so we know who's in the group.
That's awesome.
Let me get a question from a newer agent. It can be disheartening sometimes when you have people that that know you're a realtor, they choose to use someone else. You shown a customer 20 houses, you didn't use your buyer market agreement, they went with somebody else. What can you say to them to help them build their confidence? What was your advice?
I mean, you know, the way I gain confidence is by doing, right? So you just have to do the activities, and your confidence will come. You know, I mean, just believe, you know, that you can do it.
As a fairly new agent too, and I think this is good advice for any new agents. Come to the training. The training will make you better. There's no doubt about it. When I was a new agent, I was here, almost every day for the first 3 months. And you get knowledge, you get experience, you get confidence, and you will be successful in those things.
So one of the things that I remember about Tom, as you were in my Power Club, you didn't skip steps. Download your database, organize your database, start making calls. You learn everything in Ignite. I mean, the more organized and systematic and diligent, stick-to-itiveness you are, you will build up the belief in yourself. You'll feel comfortable in doing the activities that will work.
Yeah, you're not alone. I mean, yeah, you're a single agent, but you're not alone. There's lots of people here to help. Reach out.
What about open houses? A lot of agents will build their business and build their contacts through open houses.
Yeah.
I mean, have you done?
Oh, so I struggle with open houses. Is that, yeah. But no, but going back to that, so because I would get, what do you call, like, you know, how when you're new, you take open house, you take them anywhere, you know, and so that's kind of like sending mailers out to just, like, your expired listing in Ruskin, you know, like, I don't want to be in Ruskin, you know, like, and so, I did start my open houses in my farm, you know, and that's a whole different story. That I love. That I love. But yeah, so I think you just have to, you have to do everything to figure out what you're good at and what you can excel at. And that's what I did to kind of hone in on your niche, so you can at least make money while you're learning your craft, and then, yeah.
How did you actually like decide what you're like when you were starting even? I'm not even 3 months, you know, so I'm still in that phase where I'm still doing the basics. Like I just finished doing all the required classes, so that took up a lot of my days. So I was just like still in class after class after class, and I didn't even really get to do anything but schedule all my classes for the next day. So now that I'm kind of done with all the mandatory stuff, now is where I can kind of try to venture out, start to get into the leads and doing all that kind of stuff.
Well, I would think that that you would just start calling, like, what does Ignite teach you, right? To call your database, send your cards, do those things. That's what I would do.
And I'll just add to that, because I was with you when I first started. I was doing open houses all over the place. I'm like, why am I in Apollo Beach? I'm not going to be doing business in Apollo Beach. And so, to your point, and this is, again, I think great advice for new agents, use the MLS. Do a search where you want to be geographically, for the price you want to be. And I only look at other Keller Williams offices because I figured they're going to be more friendly. And I will email those people and say your listing's been there for 14 days. Can I do an open house for you this weekend? You know, and then if you need references, ask for references. You can put that in your email. So get strategic, use the MLS, find the area you want to do, and just start emailing listing agents until they say yes.
I'm just wondering how you tie yourself to buyers and sellers, like to get agreements signed. You know, feels like we're sometimes in an environment where they want, buyers and sellers want a lot of consultation, but not to connect themselves necessarily with you. You know, it's like this information, so much is out there for them, and they get it here and there, and they want to ask you as an agent or, us as appraisers, and so we answer a lot of questions that don't make you any money or tie you to anybody.
Right.
And then for free, and then they end up using another agent to list the property. How did you start out? Like, we're going to sign now, and then I'll give you my time. Or do you just?
So that's a great question. So, like, going back to the competitiveness, I want to get that listing agreement signed, and I don't like leaving the house without it signed. So I will sometimes, what do you call? What's the word?
Bring them over that guy.
That's
I like that, yeah.
That's good.
I mean, kinda, yeah, I mean, like, I'm not,
That's what you have to do.
yeah.
Not,
Yeah, where do
I
you,
was just being literal.
yeah.
So,
just-
but with the buyer broker agreements, I fail with that miserably. I in fact, recently, I met her at an open house in my farm, and she said she had another agent, and she bought a house with in Palm Harbor, but that agent only works in Palm Harbor, so that was a red flag. Because I showed her, I don't know how many houses, we had her under contract twice, she backed out twice, I was like so frustrated, and then I'm showing another person a house, and I see my rearview mirror when we're leaving her car, I think, is that Kelly? And then I see her get out and go into the house, and I'm like, mother. So I walk into the house, and my heart is like, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't handle these things very well. And I walk in, and she is in there with another agent, and I says, Kelly, what are you doing here? And she goes, oh, we're just looking at houses. She said, what are you doing here? I'm like, I just showed the house. And I'm like, oh, so you have another agent? She goes, oh, they know this neighborhood. But I said, Kelly, we have you under a contract. Then I didn't say to her that. I said, okay, thank you very much, and I left. Anyway, so
So it happens to everybody.
yeah.
And yeah, and that's what I'm saying, I'm just wondering how you, when you work with a seller, that wants to sell, and we're getting, a lot of like, well, maybe next month we'll go ahead and list it, but for now, I just want to ask you a few questions, and then maybe next month we'll do it next month, and
So-
we're not ready, and when do you get them to sign though?
So that's a good question. So I think it's important to pre-qualify before we get to the appointment. One of the things I like to say is, if everything, if everything what is it? What did I say? Basically, if everything I say is accurate and you like, what we have to say, are you ready to sign with me when I come over tomorrow at 4 p.m.? And if they say if they say yes, well, then you know they're ready to sign. And if they say no, then you know what that objection is. Whatever that objection is like, oh, well, we're interviewing 3 other agents, or we're not sure we're moving, or whatever it might be. Then you kind of know what that objection is, and then you can determine, am I going to go over there for that or not?
Have you had to continue with some sellers for many months?
Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
before they commit with you?
Well, I don't know. Like in competition with another agent, you're saying?
Just in general, if they're just like kind of shopping around, maybe just, not ready, or.
People have to nerve.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me in that situation, they're not sure if they're ready to sell yet, and they're afraid of the market. And so it's about me mastering my scripts and dialogue so that I can assure them they believe what I'm saying is to be accurate, and give them good information that will lend them to make the right decision.
So they could sign with you and still just be.
So yeah,
And all that time, maybe they're not, it's not gonna quickly get done, but.
I have
Still be.
Yeah, I have listing agreements that have been, I have one listing agreement signed 8 months ago, you know what I mean, and she's still not selling.
Right. But you don't mind giving her advice along the way, then,
No,
because you know she's
yeah,
tied with you.
yeah. And if she, yeah, I can't imagine, if she would sell that house with someone else, that would be crazy. But I don't see that.
I got 2 questions. With the hedge fund buyers and iBuyers, what do you do to convince a client to not even enter that door? Have you had that experience?
I'm not really good at convincing them not to enter that door. I mean, I don't have a good solution for that. Are you saying that a listing that you could get, they could possibly list with an iBuyer to get cash?
Yeah, I sell her.
Yeah. I mean, the basic, is
They lose out, typically, they leave a bottom.
Yeah.
That's my. And secondly, now that you're very successful, are you investing back in yourself? Are you buying investment property?
Yeah, so, well, I hit all my goals last year, and I more than hit my goals this year, and I'm hitting them, so, yeah, I mean, I'm doing all the things that, so I turned my first home into a rental property last year when we bought our new home, and my goal is now to buy another home this coming year, and to turn this home into a rental, so I have 2 rentals, and then I think the next home will be like the home, like the Mac Daddy, so to speak, the one I can settle in, and then I'll buy more rentals.
So I'm a big proponent of that because my wife and I have been in the business for 40 years, and there's low points.
Yeah,
The rental income, this powers you right through the.
Yeah.
They get you to peak.
yeah, that's where I want to be.
All right, so you guys, we're a little bit after 12. Do we have any more questions for Ryan? And is there anything else what's the one thing that you want to make sure that they know?
That you're in the right place. You're doing you're on the right path, and that it's exciting. And that I haven't really done anything special. It's just what's in that book. And by the way, I'm teaching the 24 topics. It's July 6th. It's at Palm Harbor. It's 1 p.m.
All right, guys. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was great, Brian.
Yeah. It's in the